I feel like I need a haircut. Just like, hello everybody. So, why do I always say that? Hello everybody. So, today I wanted to talk about why I don't like Seoul. The more I go there, the less I like it. The first time I went to Seoul was in 2017 and I went with my best friend. And let's just say, it was amazing. I completely fell in love with Seoul and South Korea, or at least what I thought I knew about South Korea. I fell in love with the food, I fell in love with the people, well, like the 3 good people that I met. But overall, it was just a really great time. 2018 when I came back, again, loved it. I loved all the places and I loved knowing where I am, not having to see everything that's new, but still discovering new things. Like Seoul seemed like a great time. And even when I discussed going to Korea for a year, I always had Seoul in mind. Whenever my friends and I discussed this, my friends would retaliate with saying, I don't think I could ever live in Seoul. I never really understood that sentiment because I was in love with Seoul, or at least the idea of Seoul. Since then, it has changed a lot. I've already made a video comparing Seoul and Daegu together. If you don't know, I live in Daegu right now. Why do I say right now? I live in Daegu. I've been to Seoul a few times. I made a comparison. In this video, I wanted to discuss it a little bit further into why I'm not a big fan of Seoul. If there's any repetition in here, just ignore it. Shh, it's okay. We don't need to talk about it. First reason why I don't like Seoul is because it feels a whole lot like a tourist trap. Everything is very shiny and blinky, and everything has a lot of K-pop, and everything has a lot of celebrities and a lot of like, look at this, look at that, look at this, look at that. It doesn't feel like a place where people actually live. It kind of feels like Disneyland. You go there for a few days and then you leave because it's too much, and why would anybody want to live at Disneyland? I'm sure there are people who want to live at Disneyland, but like, I don't want to have to queue to get into a restaurant. Bless you. Growing up, I never lived in a big city. I always lived either on the countryside or in extreme countryside where my mom had to drive me for 20 minutes to get me anywhere near a village. I'm not used to seeing a shit ton of people all the time. In Daegu, it's a lot more calm. Daegu doesn't have as many people as Seoul does. To put it into perspective, I grew up in Switzerland and in Ibiza, and the population of both of those places is like minuscule compared to South Korea. Seoul has 10 million-ish residents living there. Switzerland, the country, has 8 million people in the country. Switzerland's like half the size of South Korea, and Seoul is like tiny. More people living in it than Switzerland. Not a fan. I don't know, like I don't like the idea of never being able to see a familiar face. It sounds very isolated and kind of cold. When I first went to Seoul, I thought like, this is amazing. There's new people everywhere. I never have to see the same face twice. Like, it sounds like an amazing, cool thing. But now I'm like, it sounds like a terrible, terrible, terrible place. I don't like the constant change. They build, break down, build, break down. Every time I go to Hongdae, something has changed. I could have gone there 3 months ago. There's an entirely new like cosmetic store opened, or there's an entirely new restaurant. Every time I go to Seoul, I'm afraid that my favorite restaurant or my favorite bakery is broken down. So far, it's still intact, but the fear is there. I like change to an extent, but like, I like having familiar things. The different districts of Seoul kind of make me feel, I don't know, not great, I guess. In Gangnam, I just feel ugly. Because everybody's had plastic surgery, everybody's talking about plastic surgery because there's plastic surgery clinics literally everywhere. You get out of Gangnam Station, it's just like, hey, you're ugly, get plastic surgery. And I'm like, I'm okay. In Itaewon, it's just a whole bunch of foreigners who don't really know the word no. Hey, do you want to dance? No. Hey, do you want to drink this? No. Hey, do you want to hang out? No. They will come up to you on the street and just start talking to you. I don't think Itaewon is that much to offer during the daytime. When I go to a different country, I want to pretend I live in that country and I want to pretend to be a local. But in Itaewon, it's just like foreigner, 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 foreigner. Every single person in Itaewon just speaks English to me, and I came here to learn Korean, so like, Myeongdong is a whole other level of messy, because like, yes, there's street food, which is really good, like the gyerangbang. Oh, I love Myeongdong gyerangbang with the little nuts in the seeds on top of it. Brilliant. But there's so many people. There are so many people. You want to go shopping, you go to Myeongdong. It's just like, it's just where all of the shopping is. I don't know, it's like, it's just how it works. You go to Myeongdong and then you leave and you're exhausted. If I go to Myeongdong, I'm taking a taxi home because I don't want to walk anymore. You have to walk really slowly because people are so slow at walking, and there's no like free space where you can just like get through the crowd. You have to kind of shimmy your way through the crowd in Myeongdong, and I hate it. As soon as you enter a shop, the sales assistants are right next to you. They stick to you like glue. If I have any questions, I will seek you out. That's not how they're trained, and I know that that's not the actual person's fault. I know that's like the company's fault, who are like, you have to talk to every single customer, but it just makes me feel uncomfortable, and that's another reason why I don't like Myeongdong. Every single restaurant in Myeongdong and Seoul in general is freaking expensive. I don't have the money for that. And if you're wondering if the prices are really like that, like amazingly different in Daegu and Seoul, not like massively, but there's definitely a difference of like at least $2 or $3. It's like sensory overload. I don't like it. Everything around Seoul Station is kind of lame, kind of boring, nothing really much there. There's really cheap Airbnbs there. If you ever need a really cheap Airbnb and you don't know if you like Hongdae or Itaewon or like Myeongdong, if you want to be kind of in the center, get a Airbnb near Seoul Station because that's where it's cheap, and yeah, it's pretty cheap in terms of like Seoul. I came to Korea to learn Korean. I came to Korea to better my Korean, to become better at Korean, to even maybe become fluent in Korean. But I can't do that in Seoul because every single person, as soon as I make a one little slip up in Korean, they start speaking to me in English because they're like, oh, I just want to, you know, be convenient for the other person. But that's not how you learn a language. You learn a language by making mistakes and the other person possibly correcting you, or just like ignoring the fact that you made a mistake and just continuing on in the conversation in the same language. But Koreans don't do that. They really want to accommodate you and possibly practice English. That's like two factors that work against you. And Seoul, that's really prevalent because I feel like in Seoul you need to speak English to get hired everywhere. I can count on one hand the amount of times that somebody has bumped into me in Daegu twice. Whereas in Seoul it's like every single day 3 times. I feel like my shoulder is gonna have bruises at the end of the night. And I'm not here for it. I'm not here for it at all. K-pop everywhere and a lot of like K-drama everywhere, a lot of actors, a lot of singers. There's so much like blah, Korean wave, Hallyu, and I'm like, that's not how people live though. Normal people's lives don't revolve around K-pop or about Hallyu unless you're, you know, like in the actual industry. Like what can you even do in Daegu that's got anything to do with K-pop? Even like celebrities, Korean celebrities don't come to Daegu. They go to Busan if anything. Still, I like Seoul good enough, but if I had to choose Daegu versus Seoul, I'm choosing Daegu over Seoul any day. It's much easier to live in Daegu. People are not like stressed the entire time. I don't really know what kind of question I can prompt you to write in the comments, to be honest. If you have any opinions on the topic, if you think that I'm completely wrong and Seoul is actually a lovely place to live in and it's not stressful and hectic at all, please let me know. If you have any other opinions or comments that you wish to tell me, I will be reading every single one of them and replying to as many as I can. So this is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can stick around till when I make a new one. I hope you drink lots of water, get lots of sleep, and this is the end. Bye!